And we have with us here Mr. Kolawole Oludare, who is a good governance advocate, and he's also deputy director with SERAP. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Good morning.
I know you have quite a lot of things to say to this, but let's begin with the fact that first of all, let's identify the fact that we indeed invited the Lagos State government. We are still waiting for confirmation of sorts to ensure that, just to put that out there, that we attempted to quite significantly too between yesterday and today to bring the Lagos State government representatives into the studio, but that has not happened yet. However, these issues need to be raised. Let's begin with the response, or the comments of the Lagos State House of Assembly ordering a probe into this whole melee. They have invited the Lagos State Procurement Agency for conversations. What do you make of that?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think it's very important to underscore that this issue, as we've seen in Lagos State, and it's pervasive, it's a national issue, is an issue of transparency and accountability. This is not about politics. And within this concept of transparency and accountability, we understand it is a means to good governance. There are various stakeholders, call them players, signal players in a democracy. The House of Assembly also had a process initially. And now the process they want to undertake now, it's laudable, it's good. But again, it shouldn't be reactive because they also have oversight processes. So let's look at the budgeting, for instance. The budget naturally was presented by the governor to the State of Assembly, who have the power at that time to look at the line items, to even call the ministries, departments, and agencies to defend whether this amount should be on the budget at all, and at some amount. They have that power at that time. And they also have power to inquire of the executive. How do you hope to fund this whole budget? If that has passed that stage and that budget has been passed, and now the implementation, don't forget, even the procurement law of Lagos State 2021 as amended also went to the State of Assembly. So the State of Assembly has a wide view. If you ask me, they're at a vantage point. So if they are ordering a probe now, the question is, what did they do initially? Can they retrace their steps to see what had gone wrong and where? And like I've mentioned earlier, this is not certainly limited to Lagos. It's everywhere. So I think it's very important that we look forward to the result of this probe. But I fear that it becomes another knee-jerk reaction. Perhaps we can even call it tokenism. And let them keep quiet. Let's do it for a while, and then possibly it will go away. But the commitment of the State of Assembly will be seen during that investigation. You call it an investigation, I don't think it is. To see how they're able to look at all those steps to harmonize it, including the process of procurement itself and who has gotten what, when, and how. But if the State of Assembly was there when over 400 million was budgeted to buy a Jeep, so which questions are they going to ask now? Is it about the volume, the quantum, or about the procurement process that would have led to acquiring that? And again, so that is much more important than this act of tokenism that I think this is.
I actually, now when you mentioned the 400 million naira SUV, it brings to mind some of this, a portion of this document that I saw, which has quite a number of items listed under the office of the chief of staff, and I want to believe that would be referring to the office of the chief of staff to the governor. And it's quite a number of things, a good number of them, in billions and tens of billions and all of that. I don't know much about budgeting. Is that the right way to go about those things? Because some of those things are, for instance, some of them are probably going to local governments, some of them to some other offices, and all of that. What do you make of that? Is that a proper process, in terms of accountability?
It's very important, and it's very good that we're talking about this now, which is why citizens should have been involved in that process in the beginning, which is why, again, that budget went to the National Assembly, the State of Assembly, rather, pardon me, and it is believed as part of their functions of passing that budget, which was, I think, was over 1 trillion at that time in 2022. They had looked at all this. They have the power not only to look at figures, but even to look at line items, to ask questions. Did they ask those questions then? And I think it is very important that Nigerians ask them this question. And like I've said, this is not limited to Lagos. So if you look at the good work that civil society organizations have done, I would like to refer to the work of budget in this instance. You go to the website that they've created, put all the budgets of Nigerian states there. You would see that, for instance, in the 2023 budget in Osun State, 6 billion was allocated to the office of the governor. That's the budget. We've not seen the procurement to see how that has been spent. Also, if you look at Delta State, Delta it was 22 billion to the office of they call it the protocol office. So again, these budget lines, because these are appropriation laws, as it were, went through the State of Assembly and they were passed. But Ayo, what do you expect when even the federal government is towing the same line? I don't want to say they are towing the same line, they set the pace. We are yet to recover from the money that was budgeted for yacht. We are yet to recover what happened under the Berates administration about the huge chunks of money that were related to the State House Clinic, which, as investigation found out, wasn't even well at the normal infrastructure. So it will become something of what the Yorubas will say, if you pardon me, Mr. Ayo, of Egbini Hotel. And to those who don't speak Yoruba, that would mean that an offshoot, you are killing someone, another shoots up in his place. So we shouldn't be surprised. This has gone on for long, and it would appear that the impunity continues to grow in the absence of the rule of law.
You haven't really spoken to, okay, so let's look at some of these slides. I think the two that many people find quite significantly infuriating, if I can use that word, is one of them which you have mentioned. 440.7 million naira budgeted for procurement of a brand new Lexus 600 LX bulletproof sport utility vehicle for the office of the Chief of Staff.
So, and that's what I've mentioned, Ayo. This budget went to the State Assembly in Lagos. They looked at it and they approved it. So if they are conducting an investigation, are they into the amount or how much it was bought? And that is why in this instance, when we talk about
perhaps even the function of it, is that to say that there is...
Of course, they have the right at that time to look at it, which is why they call it budget defense. They have the right to call the various MDAs, including the office that is meant to use the car, to ask, why do you want this car? Why this particular car? That is why they represent Nigerians in that bit. And don't forget, budget, when it is passed, becomes law. It is appropriation law. So at that point, they have the powers to do so. I doubt if they did a good job of it, if that has passed as budget. And so that answers the question. So if it is infuriating Nigerians now, then we should ask questions. Ask the State of Assembly questions. Why did they pass it when it came before?
I mean, maybe the reason I'm raising, okay, for instance, look at the other one, because people are just going to continue to ask the questions. Look at the monthly service charge for cleaning of the Lagos House and Presidential Lodge Marina, VIP Lodge, and Park View. 15.3 million naira times 12.
I can't do the maths. It's beyond my level of mathematics, and that has gone on for long. Again, not only in Lagos but across Nigeria. Do you wonder why we are broke? And there's something I need to point out. It is a good development that we have these budgets to look at this time, but we also need to look at history. In fact, it took the intervention, and I call it intervention, something of a paradox, of the World Bank through what is called the SIFTAS program, State Transparency and Financial Accountability Program, to encourage Nigerian states to be transparent and accountable, including, among other things, to put their budgets online. The program ran from 2018 to 2020. That is one of the major reasons why we have these budgets, even in the public domain. And there was a facility of $750 million to encourage and motivate state governors to do it. Does that not show you what we understand as democracy? So in the practice of that kind of democracy, of course, naturally, we will see this kind of issues.